You know, over the past 2 years, one thing that I feel has really jumped out to me is this. When there are plenty drivers out there, you don't really have to be the best at recruiting to still hire enough drivers. I mean, I know that sounds a little weird, but I mean, think about it. If there's plenty of drivers, we don't have to be the best at advertising and recruiting and processing, and our product doesn't have to be the best. But that was a couple years ago. And as we sit here today in a very difficult driver market, we've got to be good at just about everything to hire drivers. And here's what I mean. There's really 4 main areas of hiring drivers. Number 1 is advertising, number 2 is recruiting, number 3 is processing, and number 4 is the product that you're offering. And we've got to look at those 4 areas within a carrier and say, how are we doing on each of these? Are we generating enough leads? Are we generating the right kind of leads? That's your advertising, of course. When it comes to recruiting, now this is a big one here. Do we have enough recruiters? I mean, that's one of the biggest barriers I see to hire right now is understaffed recruiting departments. We can generate all the leads in the world. If we don't have enough people working them, that's a huge issue right now. And so that's one thing in this tough market. I don't want to be understaffed. But recruiters, one of my favorite metrics is leads to recruiter. How many leads per recruiter do you have? Some people have way too many. Some people don't have enough. And so do all your metrics with recruiting, and of course response time being a big one of those. Are we appropriately responding to people as quick as possible? And so that's one of those things. We've got to do that introspection on how is our recruiting. So how's our advertising? How's our recruiting? And then we get to one that kind of gets overlooked a lot, and that's processing. If it takes us 28 days to hire a driver in this competitive market, that's going to put us behind. And so there's a lot of times people don't really look at how can we process as efficiently as possible. And oftentimes in that processing bucket, I'll also put hiring guidelines. Now, I do not ever suggest changing anything to do with safety, but there's a lot of folks that work history and unemployment, and there's just some guidelines out there that have not been reviewed in years, literally in years. And especially unemployment's one of those that some people say no more than 3 months unemployment in the past 12 months. Well, obviously with the unemployment benefits over the past year, there's a lot of people with unemployment. And so, not that you're going to change anything, but that's an area that oftentimes doesn't get reviewed for years. So how's your processing? So we got to look at our advertising, our recruiting, our processing, and finally the product, right? I mean, how does our product compare to the market? Which is why I'm so excited about Fleet Intel. It's going to be a real-time driver-paid tool where carriers can go and can know how does our product measure up. Because we can get advertising and recruiting and processing right, but if they ain't buying what we're selling, it doesn't matter how good we are at those other things. And so really all 4 of those in this market where there is a driver shortage and we don't think it's going anywhere, are we looking at these 4 areas and doing a deep dive? Now here's what I see. There's a lot of carriers with these 4 different areas. There's 4 different people who oversee them. The advertising has a marketing person. The recruiting has a recruiting person. The processing has a safety person. And the product is the sales team a lot of times controlling that. And so if you've got 4 different people controlling these 4 so vital things in the hiring process, we got to have good communication amongst those groups. And that's like so many things in life. The better we communicate, the more successful we are. The less we communicate, or sometimes when our communication turns into fighting, we're going to have some problems. And so that's probably my main thing that I see for carriers that want to win now. It's the carriers that can sit and look at those 4 areas and do a true evaluation of themselves and go, okay, how are we doing in advertising and recruiting and processing in our product? Now, not that that's going to all of a sudden you're going to have more drivers than you need if you look at those 4 things, but in a driver shortage, you've got to be focused on those 4 and make sure you're clicking on all cylinders.